If you're like most people, you probably find the first year of a relationship to be by far the most stressful. There are a lot of reasons for why that's the case. And from learning to trust one another to discovering how to treat your partner properly, it's no wonder that many relationships never make it past a few dates. One way to avoid wasting time with a person you're interested in is to simply pick up on the signals that they are either intentionally or more likely unintentionally showing you. If you want to pick up on red flags better and avoid the pain of another heartbreak, stay tuned and make sure you stick around all the way through the video so you don't miss a potentially obvious red flag on your next night out. Number 10. They can't properly describe themselves. If you are talking to someone and they can't seem to properly describe themselves, you may be picking up on a pretty major red flag. Being able to talk about your interests, likes, and dislikes, as well as your perspective on things, means that you have a solid identity. And that is hugely important in a relationship. People that enter relationships without knowing who they are or what they want almost always are setting themselves up for failure. And it is pretty easy to see why. If you are still figuring out your own issues, it is going to be nearly impossible to also give your partners as well as the relationship's problems the time and attention they need. This tends to put more pressure on the other person to maintain the relationship while you focus on yourself, which often causes the other person to collapse under the weight of things. If you're on a date with another person and they don't seem to know themselves very well, it probably means they haven't looked inward yet, and they probably aren't ready for a mature relationship. Number 9. They love to talk. Another red flag you are bound to run into while out in the dating world comes from the talker. People who love to talk can seem charming, and may very well be, but these people can't seem to be quiet for even a few moments. If you are a quieter person, or are entertained by outgoing people, you have probably fallen for this type before, and you probably know why this is a red flag as well. Talking a lot is fine on its own, but if a person is trying to claim the spotlight during every conversation, that can point to a problem with ego. Conversation should go both ways, but if a person doesn't allow you to speak, it really isn't that fun at all. Loud and talkative people can display narcissistic or even sociopathic tendencies at times. And when you get them on their own, it may even become clear that their talkative nature is nothing more than a persona. Number 8. They push your boundaries, sometimes even physically. A lot of people use the term red flag pretty loosely, but this entry is definitely a warning that you should stay away from this person. If you are feeling like your date or partner is imposing on your boundaries, you should take that kind of behavior pretty seriously. People who show a clear lack of care for your personal space or verbal warnings should not be trusted, as they are not treating you fairly in the least. This behavior usually only gets worse over time too, and people who do this often have dark triad tendencies. Early on in a relationship, this type of person may attempt to probe for weaknesses in you, pushing boundaries to see if you will stop them. This kind of behavior may make you feel unsafe, and it's probably the right call to create some distance with this person when that happens. Number 7. They call their past relationships mistakes. When a relationship ends, you want to at least end things on good terms if possible. It takes a lot of maturity to do this. And also trust on both sides that despite things not working out like they liked, that they will both do right by each other. That's why when people call their ex-partners crazy, or they put all the blame on the other individual, you should realize what that could mean. People who do this usually struggle to take responsibility in their relationship. But it can also point out a larger issue too. If a person cannot respect their ex, it makes you question if they are going to be able to respect you either. Of course, we all want our relationships to end with a happily ever after, but that, unfortunately, is far from the usual outcome. If things get hard, or if in the worst case you and this person split up, you want to be sure that they aren't going to spread rumors, lash out, or generally make things harder than they already are. Number 6. They like to say, "I was only kidding," or "it was just a joke." In a relationship, communication does a lot of the heavy lifting. Every time you disagree with a person, there is a possibility to resolve the conflict if you properly talk to them. The problem is, so many people around the world think of arguing as something you win, rather than something you learn from. Some of the biggest offenders in this way are gaslighters, people who try to manipulate you into feeling a certain way. Gaslighters, when confronted, will try to hide behind societal norms and act as if they didn't say anything wrong at all. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you've learned something new today. Number 5, they are always facing away from you. Physicality is hugely important when it comes to understanding a person, and this is doubly true when it comes to dating. When you are out with a person, there is so much you can learn from their body language. from their attitude to how comfortable they feel around you. People who cross their arms or face away from you can unintentionally be telling you how they feel about your company. This is a contextual clue, of course, since there are many reasons why a person may do something. But usually, when a person closes off physically, it means they don't find you attractive. If you're looking for good body language, you probably want to find a person who points their feet towards you and who presents themselves very openly. The more guarded an individual is, the less likely they are to be telling you the truth. Number 4, they freak out when you have to change a plan. There are a lot of tricks that people play to vet out good potential partners from the bad ones. One of the easiest tricks you can do to spot a potential red flag comes from just telling a person you are going to be late or to change the plan. If a person is adaptable and open, they should have no problem changing their approach. And this also shows that they are willing to change for you. If a person becomes upset or quiet, it often means that the person you are talking to values their own time over yours, and that they don't want to change themselves for you. Change is incredibly important when it comes to long-term relationships. And so this little trick could help you stay away from people who will waste your time and energy. Number 3, they say things like you never or you always. Relationships require an almost absurd amount of patience and time, and it can be hard to deal with the ups and downs of one while also dealing with your other priorities in life. At the end of the day, you want to be with someone who supports you and who you feel like is in your corner when you need them. One of the clearest signs of insecurity and immaturity in a partner is when they are always blaming you for things. People who are quick to point a finger and blame you will usually use statements like you never or you always in order to push the blame off of themselves, but this is not healthy for either of you. If you feel like you're dating a person who just can't seem to step up and admit when they are wrong, or who is so scared of blame so they dish it out instead, you may have some issues when it comes to long-term happiness. Number 2, your partner doesn't stand up for you. Human beings want to be independent, but we are also social creatures. If you are going to make things work with someone, you probably want to know that they will stand up for you in a group setting, as nothing feels worse than when someone doesn't. A good way to gauge this is to notice how your partner treats restaurant staff when you are out, as well as if they will speak up for you when something goes wrong. If they are trying to talk to you, or if they won't say a word when you are being wronged, you should consider that a serious red flag. Being respected is key to a healthy relationship, and it's hard to say that is happening when you are always being left to fight your own battles. Number 1, they don't respect your opinions. If your date doesn't care what you have to say or mocks what you tell them, then you have a major issue on your hands. This is an extremely common red flag, and it usually happens when things are close to the end. This person isn't even trying to make an effort for you to like them, so why bother? And if you like this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to subscribe and leave a comment saying I subscribed, and we will personally reply to your comment.